every human life, we as a human being, we're supposed to evolve and become a better version of ourselves. But that didn't happen on the surface. And a lot of people are struggling with their cognitive functions, and not only while doing so, but we also lag behind in productivity as well. So let us find out, what are we supposed to do to evolve as a human being? Hi, my name is Pavan Davra. Welcome to Precious Brain Lab, where we talk on brain disorders, connectivity between the brain regions, and brain development. In today's episode, we're going to understand how does the connection between the brain changes the outcome of a scenario. What are we supposed to do as a human being to evolve and to become a better version? Why are we still thinking in a broken ship where we can fix things and we can make it a better for us, for our surroundings, and for our environment, for the people around us? Since we are failing to do so, what would be the reason behind all of this? And what are we supposed to do to evolve as a human being? The unchanged melody in today's episode is just about to understand, what are we supposed to do? If we chose to remain in the same cycle for years, what are the consequences that you're going to face with time as the brain is underdeveloped even after years of repeating a cycle? What are we supposed to do? Let us find out the huffs and buffs of the inside part of the brain, and what are we supposed to do to evolve as a human being. So to begin with, as you can see, that the brain is developed the brain is divided, into three different categories. The first one is the smallest, which we call it the survival brain, which is basic and reptilian brain, which means it just talks about that keeps you in the loop of well balanced, it just keeps you in that portion where you feel balanced from inside, that everything is smooth and running really good. The second is the emotional brain, or the limbic system. It is larger than the reptilian brain, because now we're talking the advancement of the human brain, which means that the emotions, how do we take and how do we process it? So the limbic system is also called as the mammalian brain, which means which is also found in the animals and in humans both. Now, what is the difference between the animals and the human beings is we call it the thinking brain, the neocortex. Not everybody is up to the mark of using this neocortex. Most of the time, the brain loves the idea to use the mammalian brain because it doesn't require a lot of, maintenance. Neocortex requires a lot of oxygen, a lot of blood, and a lot of glucose to process information, which means the brain gets tired pretty easily when it comes to the thinking brain. So when it comes to emotional brain, it's pretty easy to use and pretty easy to spike our dopamine addictions and so on, even our aggressions, defensiveness. So all of that is towards the part of the limbic system. But in these three sections, in today's episode, we're going to understand the most important part. The unchanged melody comes from the part of the limbic system. Why are we still chose to remain in the same cycle for months, for years, and for, till the end of our lives? We keep doing that same thing over and over again. We choose to remain in the same cycle, but we fail to evolve as a human being. And this is a huge deficit in human beings' life. Why is it such a deficit? And why is it important to evolve as a human being? All of this we're going to find out in this episode of Unchanged Melody. What are those deficits we're going to find in human life? And what are we supposed to do as a human being? Those deficits are going to have serious problems in our cognitive functions, especially in productivity and improving as a human being. Like, our behaviors, our personality. How can we improve all of this? How can we sync with our environment and bring more positive outcome while we're doing so? Is there a possibility? Let us find out even more. So as you can see, that there are animals and there's human being in there. Now in these two conditions, you would see that between the animals and the human beings, there are one thing in common. And what is that? It's the limbic system. The limbic system is found in the animals and the human beings. Now the most stubborn thing that happens between the limbic system in animals is they're really stubborn, they're hard to change, and they will keep repeating that cycle for years, for months, for years, even till the end of their lives. They will keep repeating that cycle. Even though they'll get hurt, they'll come back and then do the same thing because they don't have the capacity to understand what is right and wrong. They only understand the part of their function is to defend, to mate, to eat, to sleep. That's it. They don't have the higher cognitive is to think and evolve as an animal. No, why? There is one reason behind this. That these wild animals, they belong to the jungle. Their genetics are being developed in such a way that they need that freedom to allow them to mold themselves as a wild animal. If you domesticate these animals, you'll find huge deficit in them. With time, they will slow down and they can die at an early age as well. Why? Because they're not born to fit to be in the domestic environment. These animals are not supposed to be kept in zoo. Yes, I went to the zoo and I observed these animals, and what I observed was that their cognitive functions have almost reduced to half. Since they're living in there, they've been feeding with food and the other stuff, which is not required for these animals. They were supposed to go out there, they're supposed to catch, they're supposed to hunt and then eat. And that's how their genetics are built. But if we're going to feed them and they're not doing anything, then deficits are going to be found in these animals. So they're not supposed to be kept anywhere closer to the domestic civilization. They're supposed to be in the wild, and that's what their genetic is. They're wild, they're stubborn, and they can get to you like hell. The only difference between the human beings and the animals is neocortex, is the prefrontal cortex, the front section of the brain, which is largest found in the human beings. Now, in terms of largest, I can say the elephant also have the largest. Then why can't they be smart? Because most of the cognitive functions are limited to the elephants, and they can only think to a certain limit. They can feel more rather than they can think and evolve as an elephant. Like, they could have more smarter ways to do it. No, they have limitation. And that's why, even though they have a larger frontal cortex, but still they're not up to the mark. They can only do certain tasks, certain understanding, whereas the human beings is the largest frontal cortex, but it's absolutely magnificent. It's crisp. It's really, really tight. It can give you amazing results if you start using a prefrontal cortex. But the point here is that in all of these, the human beings are the largest and the animals are the less. But if I make you understand about the animals, why do I need to speak on animals is because the limbic system is quite similar to the animals compared to the human beings. So if the animal behave in such a way, now neuroscientists, they try to analyze and they try to experiment on animals and the human beings to understand the brain functions of a human being. And that's what I like about the neuroscience, that we get to know more and more from the animals and the human beings. So why do we need to learn more on this is because we'll understand the concept of how to change evolve as a human being. Now, you must have seen on Discovery Channel a show called Fatal Attractions. If you must have heard about it. Fatal Attraction was all about animals being domesticated. So let's say there were snakes, there were monkeys, there were monitors, there were tigers, there were lions. And you must have seen in the video that in the end, they fail to recognize their owners, because when they get to the wilderness or where they're getting really wild, then they were out of control, so they killed their owners. In a similar way, when human beings get wild, they can not only destroy the environment, but they can also destroy the human beings. So either they can kill a human being or they can also destroy a human being. So the part of me talking on this is that when there is a connection between the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex, if the limbic system is dominating, then it's very difficult to control that human being, because their aggression is really high and they can destroy the environment. They can also destroy the human being. They can get violent. They can get physically violent, abusive verbally. They can cut off. They can do many things when it comes to the trigger of the limbic system. So between the animals and human being, these two things are very, very crucial. They will continue to grow. They can continue to get aggressive. They can continue to make it worse out of situations. So we need to understand that the limbic system should be in control. So we're going to learn further about this region to evolve as a human being. So as you can see, that the limbic system doesn't like to change and the amygdala doesn't like novelties. It's very, very important to understand that the limbic system is highly responsible for not changing as a human being. Now, before we get started, there are also some, not every scientist is equally agreed to the regions of the limbic system, but the basic limbic system regions that they agree is the dentate gyrus, hypothalamus, then the thalamus, then amygdala, and the hippocampus. So these are the common, like everybody agrees, all the scientists, they agree to these brain regions. These brain regions are very, very crucial. They can keep you in that loop for years. Imagine that you've been doing a certain type of work for years. Now, what happens here is that if you do that cycle for years, let's say you go to a certain job and you keep doing that for years. I'll give you an example. If a wife is working wife and the husband is home, he doesn't go out to work, but he's home. Let's say wife goes out every day, work, come home, and the husband is 24/7 at home. So what is happening here? That cycle is still repeating. It's an unchanged cycle. This is where the limbic system begins to start to convert everything. All of that cycle will start to process inside your head. If you repeat it for years, for months, and even till the end of your life, you're not going to evolve as a human being. You're going to remain unchanged for the rest of your life. The hippocampus will remain the same. There'll be no change in it. Dentate gyrus will still respond to certain information, go in and out, to and fro. The dentate gyrus is like a gate. So the information goes inside hippocampus and come out of hippocampus. It's a process of dentate gyrus. Then comes the part of amygdala, the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and then the attachment to the hippocampus is the fornix. All of these things, the striatum, all of this makes a limbic system, and it's so stubborn that it'll keep you in that loop till the end of your life. It'll make you convinced that this is the right path. You should live in this life for the rest of your life. It won't allow you to think from here. Now, one of the biggest side effects of remaining unchanged is that people get sensitive towards aggression and blocking the information from getting in. So the guarding of this is more than thinking, expanding your brain from here. So let's say if a given situation where you have your friends and there's a friend circle. I'll give an example. In the friend circle, there are 4 or 5 people. Example, one person did something wrong and there was this other person. 2 people are fighting. 2, 3, let's say 3 people are fighting. They're saying that this person is wrong. But there will be one person who's not neutral, but he's taking the side of person who's wrong. So they're trying to convince you, please don't do this. So what happens? That person who's supporting that person who's wrong, he'll immediately close off. Why? Because that person is living in a cycle for years. So when they look at situations, certain situations that suits that information that is inside for many years, they'll consider that is right. They'll say, no, that is this and this and that. No, they're not going to listen. So they'll immediately cut off and they run away like, I don't want to talk to you, get out. Why? Because the limbic system failed to analyze what is right and wrong. A simple dialogue, a simple way, chose to remain unchanged for years is the biggest problem, that the limbic system is controlling your brain. And it's very dangerously living in that zone, because zoning means deficit in other regions. Zoning means one section but deficit in many. Example, I have my business and I'm working on my business since 20 years. So you are constantly working on it. But when you look at the other stuff, what is the other stuff? Connection with your family, connecting with your friends, connecting with your surroundings, helping your kids to evolve as a better human being. There's so many things that starts to deficit, and the brain will remain unchanged for years. And that's the biggest challenge in the limbic system, that it just keeps you in that loop. Sensations from inside, they will keep giving you that signal of comfort and safe. That's it. So now you're safe, now you're comfort, everything is fine, I can live in this zone for years. There's no problem. That comfort will destroy this part. You'll remain unchanged. And when given any situations, bam, aggression, finish. You'll have abusive language, you'll get aggressive, those are the last stages. The other stages are even more crucial to understand, but we'll understand in the further analysis as well. But let us try and understand what is the key elements to keep up with this section, to open up, to start to evolve as a human being, to use this section, which is neocortex, the prefrontal cortex, and the neocortex, the largest. So we want to use all of this. We don't want it to be waste, because we're human beings. So as you can see, that there are side effects like aggression. So the key element is aggression. Aggression should be in control when you're starting to change. If you're going to change and there is aggression to change, then start to calm yourself down and remind yourself that it's better for me to change than to remain in that cycle for years, and so on. So continue to stay calm as you evolve. The second thing is important if you want to evolve is sleep cycle. Your sleep cycle should be perfectly orchestrated. You sleep at 10 to 11 p.m. and wake up at 6 p.m. Why? Because 6 a.m. is the cycle where the system starts to awake. There's an awakening process. If you skip that part of waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning, then what is going to happen is you start to feel tired when you wake up. You don't feel good when you wake up in the morning. So you're going to feel exhausted, you're going to feel tired, you skip that part, and when you wake up, you feel like, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, I need to drink my coffee, I need to drink my tea to energize my body to move forward. And when you do that, then your sugar level spikes and, your blood sugar spikes, and that is not a good thing to do in the early morning. So the deficit is definitely going to be found in learning and memorizing and to understand the situation if a sleep cycle is not good. Then comes emotional processing. Very, very important to keep the limbic system in control is to have a better emotional processing. You should not be blunt, number one. You should always validate your emotions, and you should always have expressing your emotions in the right way. Not getting aggressive, not being abusive, but being calm and having those emotional processing. Even if you have to say to somebody, you should have a better emotional processing. It shouldn't get into the hardest point of it. Otherwise, things can get really nasty. It's the biggest sign that the limbic system is controlling your brain. Then comes the part of learning new things. Very, very important. When you want to learn new things, you have to give it all of it. If you fail to learn new things, then you've got to understand that the limbic system is controlling your brain and it's not allowing you to learn any new things. One of the biggest signs of limbic system is controlling your brain. When you learn new things, immediately you start to get irritated. You won't feel good, or you want to get out of there. You feel bored. You'll get disinterested. You just want to walk away from there. That's the limbic system is controlling the brain. Another aspect is when you spike your dopamine a lot, and when you're learning new things, when you sit down to learn new things, your brain will start to get away from that place. You'll feel bored and you want to walk away. So in two aspects you got to understand. If you spiked your dopamine before learning new things, let's say 10 minutes ago you spiked your dopamine and you're doing something, and then when you sit down and you want to learn new things, your brain won't understand that, and there'll be a block in your prefrontal cortex. You want to walk away from there. You don't want to do it. And then you say, okay, maybe next time I'll learn. I don't want to learn now. So there's an excuse from the brain. Stop this and don't do it. Then comes improving lifestyle, discipline. Discipline is what limbic system doesn't like. It doesn't like to stay in control. All it likes is wild and free and do whatever I can do, and nobody stops me from doing things, and nobody stops me from saying things. I will keep saying those words, and everybody has to listen. That is what the limbic system likes. I will choose to remain in that cycle. Everybody should be under my control. I don't care. If they don't listen, get out of here. I don't care. You see the part of that aggression? It's coming from the limbic system. So in order to keep that part of that limbic system in control is to be in discipline. Now if you see, I'll give an example. You must have seen the animals. You must have seen the wild animals where they get them. they try to control them. What they do is they keep them in a certain environment and they keep them in discipline. They don't allow them to get wild and free. That is what triggers an animal when they start to control. The limbic system does not allow them to control, so they get really wild at the beginning. They don't like that. They like to stay wild and free. So as they start to process and control them, with time you will see that they start to control. They stay in control because they were in that limitation. They were holding that discipline with the animals. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. So the animal starts to shrink their motor functions. They sit down and they start to listen. This is what you need to do with the human limbic system. The human limbic system, discipline is the way to control that. If you do whatever you want, then this is blocked. The frontal cortex is blocked. The front section, the forehead, is blocked from inside. So discipline is very, very important to control the limbic system and also to evolve as a human being. Very, very crucial. The next one is de-stress every day. Why do I need to speak on de-stress? In today's modern world, the genetics have changed drastically due to coronavirus and chose to remain in one place for limiting our cognitive functions. Our genetics have seriously changed drastically, and exposure to the environment by limiting our exposure has caused change in our genetics. You must have seen people are dying with heart attack these days. Why? Because what we used to control the level of stress, we were able to adjust in that stress environment. But now, that stress is causing trouble to our heart. We're not able to control that. So what is happening here is when you choose to remain in the same cycle, chances of having heart attack is really on a high risk. So always consider to de-stress yourself every day. Your genetics are not so good these days. Please keep in mind that every day de-stress your mind, de-stress your body is very, very crucial to move forward and to have a better cognition and also to give a good rest to your heart. So de-stress every day is very important. And so when we reach to this point, these are very crucial points to evolve as a human being. Also, the behavior is also very important. And also, how to grow as a human being is also very, very crucial. Not choose to remain in that cycle. Now, when we choose to remain in that same cycle, there is also not only aggression, ego, pride, and also closed off, not ready to listen to anybody. If someone says anything, if one or two words, if that person is explaining, and it matches to the information inside your head, you'll say, that's it. I don't want to listen. I know what you're saying. You don't have to explain me. I've understood. No, it's okay. Don't talk. What is happening here? This is the control of the limbic system. The limbic system is controlling the brain like hell. It is going to make it happen. Rather than that, let the other person complete everything. Let them say, patiently wait. And then try to analyze why or how or why this person did this. It's not about controlling the other person. It's about opening this section up. In a situation, in a marriage, what happens is the control of the male and female ego is high. It's very high. The male and female ego is so high, it's so stubborn that none of them wants to give up. Where this is coming from is the unchanged melody. The cycle still remains the same. It wants to remain in that cycle for years, for months, and it doesn't want to change anything. no matter what happens, why he or she is telling me this, who is she to tell me, or who is he to tell me? I am this and I am that. You cannot say this to me like this. What is this happening? This is all that cycle, because amygdala is a part of the limbic system. The entire limbic system is responsible for defense mechanism, for fight and flight response. One of the major things that I want to talk on this from here on is how does this male and female ego turns into really, really bad situation? How? So as you can see, that in everyday life, the use of our senses is more than processing information in PFC. Our senses are attached to our emotions, like vision, smell, taste, hearing, touch. These are the evidence of processing information. Just like, I'll give an example. If you go to the court asks for witnesses. Do you have any witnesses? So they'll say, I have an eyewitness. I'm going to get them in. So the witness of our own experience is the eyes, the ears, the taste, the touch. All of this is a witness. They give you that confidence that you're on the right path or on the wrong path. These senses are attached to our emotions and our processing. So let's say if someone says something, immediately the emotions are going to be falling out. So those senses are looking for that information that matches your previous information. And when it matches, you feel safe and guarded. But when it doesn't match, then you're like, boom, ego, pride, abusive, then cutting off from the situation and going away from it. Now there's one more reason why I need to talk on this is when there is a situation, and let's say you and your partner is fighting. I'll give an example. You're fighting. Now your husband and wife are living that same cycle for years. They're doing that same job, or let's say you have a housewife, or husband is working in that same job for years. So they build that confidence that I'm right. Even the wife says I'm right because I'm running the house. The husband says I'm right that I'm running the house. Like I'm in that same job, I'm successful, I'm right. So both of them are right. Because they're running the house, they're doing that same thing. Why? Because the brain is signaling that everything is smooth. If anybody says something, I know how to make it right. Where this is coming from? This is the part of the limbic system that's giving the confidence. It's giving that safe zone. It will keep you in that zone that I'm right and I'm doing this. And the moment the situation arises, I am right and I am right and I am right, the debate begins. And that debate can turn into verbal abuse, violent abuse. Instead of understanding the situation, the brain was supposed to use, the situation was supposed to use this section, prefrontal cortex, but it's not using that. The process is changed. Instead of using this, we're using the limbic system inside. It's deep. It's not up to the, on the surface. It's deep inside the limbic system on both the ends, like deep inside. So what happens is that instead of changing, you get pretty much aggressive and violent, and you start to abuse. Now, what are the deficits you're going to find from here on? If a situation requires you to understand, and if you don't understand, then you're rerouting. You're stopping yourself from understanding. So what is happening? Those neurons are rerouting their pathways to defense mechanism. So it's blocking this section. Now what is happening is you may have problems. What is that problem? High blood pressure. Changes in blood pressure, low blood pressure, high blood pressure, sweating, headache. Then comes a part of headache, changes in blood pressure, sweating. Also, the last advanced stage, fight or flight response. Either I'm going to close off, either I'm going to be violent on my partner. I don't care. Why? Because it's a block inside. The block is from the limbic system. It's not allowing them to open up from here. So the fight will increase and it's going to get really bad and rustic. And this needs to be changed. Because you're living that same cycle, the brain is confident that I'm right. But that's not supposed to be. You have to open up from here. You must have seen a lot of people, the saint and the other person, when they sit down, they're in calm and they listen and they give advice. Why? Because calmness drives prefrontal cortex. Aggression drives limbic system. So you won't understand anything. You choose to remain in there. I am this and I'm that. You all are under my control. If you don't listen to me, get lost. What is this? Limbic system. Controlling. Bringing out that raging like an animal control. That I am the boss and you got to listen to me. Don't do that. Even in I'm sorry to say, but in Bhagavad Gita, it says that you have no rights to control anyone's life. You should not take away their freedom from anyone's life. It's the biggest crime, Krishna says. You should give them that freedom. They have that right to have their freedom, to express, to understand, to say it, but in limitation. It shouldn't be like you're making fun of somebody or bringing them down. No. In any situation, if there's misunderstanding, allow the other person to speak up. You stay calm and listen. If you don't listen, the limbic system is controlling your brain, and that's it. It's going to make it worse. Why? Because you've been living that same cycle for years. And that is the biggest reason why you cannot change. So one of the biggest reasons right after this is, how does it convince you to just stick to that one place? We're going to understand even more. This is even more interesting. So, as you can see, there is something called as DMN. What is DMN? The brain's default network is a set of regions more active during passive tasks than tasks demanding focused external attention. One hypothesis is that the default network contributes to internal modes of cognition used when remembering, thinking about the future, and mind wandering. Wow, look at this. Look at that imaging in there. Those spots are talking about mind wandering. These are the regions which we call default mode network, DMN. It's very, very crucial to understand that if you're sitting in that place and if you're wondering, then that's default mode network. This is one of the biggest reasons you cannot change. You cannot change your life. Imagine you're sitting down and you're thinking about the future. You're sitting like this. And then, you're sitting alone and you're thinking and you're thinking and thinking about, and then you're thinking about the present, and all of a sudden it takes in the future. Oh, it's supposed to be like this. If I do this, I can have this better life. I think I'm doing well. And I'm going to have that life that I really wanted. And I think I'll get there. So what is happening here? That processing is taking you to the future, stopping you here, remaining unchanged. You'll enjoy the process of staying unchanged because it's giving you that pleasure of being in that future, that pleasure that is unchanged. And this is one of those biggest reasons why people cannot change, is because default mode network will take you to mind wandering and future. Everybody loves to know about their future. And some of the people, they just sit and imagine, oh, when my time will come, I will do this. When my time will come, I'll do this. That time will never come. You're remain unchanged. Why? Because you got the pleasure. If somebody says that, you show your birth chart and say, you know what, in 2025, you will be able to do more things. And that is the right time to start something new. And today's 2023, you here now. So what do you do? For 2 years, you'll plan, you'll try small things. But you'll choose to remain unchanged. You're not going to advance. You're going to do certain things. It doesn't work. The brain says, yes, wait for 2025. Don't do it now. Why? Because your birth chart says it'll happen in 2025, not now. So the brain signaling the pathways, making stronger connection, and giving you the confidence. Don't do it now. Do it in 2025. And right now, do something to just to go, just to do that thing for a little while. That's it. Don't do much productivity now. Wait for the right time. This is that DMN. You've heard something and now it's fixed. You cannot change. So till the 2025 doesn't arrive, you will wonder about that thing. Oh, if I do this, I think this is better for us. This is going to happen. But nothing happens. And when that 2025 arrives, you're demotivated, you're not so happy, you think that is the wrong idea and I should do something else. So that'll keep you in that same cycle. So you should not listen to anything that the brain says. You should use this more than the limbic system. But then let us get on further. What is involved to keep you unchanged? Now, one of the biggest reasons that very, very important from here, apart from default mode network, what is that? The thing called belief system. As you can see, what is the belief system? Belief system is action potentials. The information matches with the previous information stored and feeling safe and comfortable and stronger defenses. This is the category of the belief system. The belief system is actually coming from a place of the information that goes in, gets processed, and it makes you feel safe. It puts up a stronger defenses, and I'm in my power. Finish. This is that process. It's more similar to the animals. In an experiment done by a scientist, what he did was, he was in a jungle, and the scientist was a zoologist. So what he did was, he was in a jungle, and he kept a piece of banana. He kept one banana, and there were 2 monkeys. So he kept in one place, the 2 monkeys come down. And the one who reaches first, snatch it and run away. And the second one did not get it. So what this zoologist did was, the next time, he keeps half a banana, and the 2 monkeys were on that thing up there in that, in the tree. Immediately they start to run, even the half a banana. So the previous one who picked it up, that person picked it up and went away because he was fast. So this time, that monkey did not get it. So while that monkey was eating, then this monkey was fed with 1 full banana. And that monkey saw it. So what happened here? The previous monkey who picked up the half banana was curious. So he went back again, he sat down there, and he thought he was going to get 1 full banana. He did not get it. So what happens? The next time he repeats that same cycle. So 3 times he does the same thing with that, with the monkeys. The 2 monkeys did the same task. But what happened the 4th time? The previous monkey did not move to the half banana. He waited for the full banana. And this time, the scientist manipulated with the half banana. He did not get the full. So what happened? The previous monkey was sitting there did not choose to go again. So the belief system that was developed after the 4 rounds in that monkey was actually false belief that he will get that full banana the 4th time. If he waits, he will get the full banana. But he was fooled and manipulated. So what everything that goes in is not the right thing to the belief system also in the human beings. Why? Because the limbic system loves the idea of being in that loop. Once you get something useful through your eyes, it will process, the limbic system will take in, the belief system is going to accept that, and it's going to choose to remain unchanged. Finish. And that information will make you feel safe, will make you feel guarded. If anybody says here and there, I know how to handle, I'm in full control. No. Except for the ones who are insulting you or making you feel bad, that's a different thing. But if in any given situation, if you don't learn, and if you just be strong defenses, huge deficit found in this section turn into violent behaviors and making it worse for you and for the others. And then what happens is, from here onwards, that what is the reality of all of this? Because we come to the end sections of all of this, so we're going to understand from here on why are we having strong defenses? Why? We have learned about the limbic system, but let us understand even more deeper into this. So as you can see, that there is this person who is closed off, and then there's this wall. The wall is the eyes and the amygdala, and then if you cross that wall, there is something called a self-improvement. This is what we lack behind. Self-improvement and understanding towards the situation. The eyes takes that information. Amygdala triggers. Amygdala, is a part of the limbic system. It's going to block your brain from here. Immediately closed off. Immediately. I'm not going to listen. Get lost. I'm going to cut off. I don't want to be here. I'm going to leave this place. Or maybe let's say, I'm going to leave this group on Facebook. I'm going to leave this group on Instagram. I'm going to cut off. I don't like this. This is all the limbic system. Unless if they're talking something that needs to be understood, I'm talking about those terms. Not someone who's going to come up and insult you or bring you down in some way. No, I'm talking about evolving as human beings. So if you can evolve as a human being, is to listen and calm yourself down and open your prefrontal cortex, and then self-improvement will increase. If you continue to close off, it's not going to work anymore. And that's the reality of the limbic system. So now that we're assuming the environment, then what is more to realize that right after our eyes and amygdala is a strong defenses of putting up that wall, then what else is involved in part of not evolving as a human being or not ready to change? What is that cycle that's actually affecting us even deeper? So let us try and understand. So as you can see, that there is our eyes look around the environment for useful information and use it to select the proper action which relates to the previous information stored in our brain. You would see that eyes in that picture, the eyes is actually looking all around. It's looking for that information to match with the previous information inside to make you feel safe. Now, I give you an example. Let's say if you go to a party, you will be excited, but you'll look all around. That'll make you feel comfortable and relaxed. And you'll go to that place and sit down and feel comfortable. Yes, I'm comfortable here. So that information is still giving you that signaling, the eyes, that, this is the direction you choose. You go and sit down, or you kind of talk to that person, or you buy this, or you don't buy that. You eat this, you don't eat this. So the eyes is actually acting as an evident, constantly processing that information in your brain and telling you should do this. So one of the biggest challenges in the part of, unchanged melody is the eyes, that it keeps you in that surroundings. Why is this important? I'll give an example that the limbic system, especially when in the animals, their defenses are really high. If I were to say that, imagine if you want to save an animal, a wild animal gets into a domesticated life, it gets into a city and it gets stuck. So what are you going to do? You're going to call up those animal control. They'll go, they'll pick them up, and they'll release in the jungle. But while doing so, if they get closer to the animals like tigers, lions, crocodiles, snakes, even wild as horse, elephants, wild elephants, wild gorillas, chimpanzees, wild, they're not exposed to the human life. If you get close to them, you're saving them. But they're guarded up. Why? Because they're used to that life cycle. This is the new information to the eyes, the human beings. They're used to the trees, they're used to the jungle, they're used to that, that sunlight, the animals around them. But they're not used to these human beings with cars, skyscrapers. So when they enter that city, they get freaked out. And they start to defense, they start to fight. Even if you try to save them, they will be guarded up. If you get close to them, they'll bite you, they'll strike on you. So you have to be extra careful. If you want to save them, you've got to go the other way around to save these animals. Now, with the limbic system in human being is that if the limbic system is controlling the environment, it wants to dominate not only that, but it'll also dry up that environment. The environment will sound like a bit cold, but that in the process of hating each other, fighting, not talking, hating each other, passing comments, it's a very dry environment if the limbic system is controlling. And that's what it does. If it's controlling, then it's going to affect your environment on a deeper level. It's going to hit you really hard. It's not going to make you stay calm and relax. You'll also have high anxiety if you're resisting certain information, certain emotions or motor functions. It make you stay in that high in anxiety. It won't allow you to change. This is because years of unchanged, the brain is scared to open up, scared to change, scared that the other person might do something bad to me. So all of that is coming from a part of the limbic system. It's not allowing you to change. So that changes resist for months, for years, and nothing can remain the same for the rest of your life. Sometimes there are situations in relationships where whether girlfriend, boyfriend, or husband, wife, they don't talk for years and then they get divorced. That part of that limbic system is so stubborn that it won't allow you to open up and talk. I'm not talking in terms of you have an abusive partner or, addictive partner, like, your partner is addicted to drugs, sex, or anything else. But I'm talking about two equal minds sometimes have, misunderstood about a situation, and so that mind is so remained unchanged for years. It will not adapt that change to happen. It will immediately give that information. Oh, my partner is like this. They'll never listen. They won't do this. They won't do that. They're always stubborn. I don't want to talk. I'm fed up. I want to go away. I'm sick and tired of my partner. What is all this? This is that pre-assumption of the limbic system, the environment in the jungle restricting the animals from evolving, from expanding their search. They'll be limited when the jungle is under a certain change. When the jungle opens up to beautiful sunlight, the environment, the temperature is soothing for the animals, soothing for hunting, soothing for, to go about and search. Then that environment, the animals come out of their den, come out of their safe places, and they go beyond where they're living. They go far off places to find food and hunt. So what does this mean? The limbic system will keep you restricted. If the environment is dry, cold, and it's all about fighting and neglecting, abusive language is used, verbal abusiveness. So any of that is because it's coming from your previous experiences of remaining unchanged. Why should I change? Why they're not listening? Why should I only listen? The two needs to control that limbic system and open the prefrontal cortex. If that limbic system is constantly firing at a really high rate, you won't be able to understand anything. It's better to calm yourself down. You both start to listen, because listening means opening up your prefrontal cortex. If you keep talking, it's the dominance of the limbic system. It wants to dominate. It's a hunger to strive. I want this, and I won't let this down anymore. So that's the dominance of the limbic system. So what can you do exactly to change yourself? We've come to the last part. How can you change all of this? Because we've got to evolve as a human being. And if you continue to stay like this, then it's going to be very difficult to come out and to become a better human being. Although neuroscience is all about understanding the intersections of the brain, so it's not just about the outside, that you're getting influenced by certain information, certain activity you hear, you see, you taste something. No, it's about how do you evolve as a human being. And that is important to understand, that we are human beings and we're supposed to evolve as a human being. We're not here to do anything that's going to destroy us, destroy our environment, and destroy relationships. So what exactly can you do to evolve as a human being? Let us find out. So as you can see, that there is this semantic memory and the episodic memory. These two memories are important to evolve as a human being. If you don't expand these memories, then you're about to shut down the part of your limbic system. Most of this, you're about to shut down the part of, the prefrontal cortex, the neocortex. So semantic memory, what semantic memory is, you see that example. I'll talk about apples. Apples, how does the apples look like? Apples are edible, fruity, stem seeds are inside of it. It comes from the tree. It's red in color. It's round and it's sweet. Semantic memory is more of learning in detail, which is knowledge learned over many interactions and takes efforts. This is the part of the neocortex that actually expanding the learning and memorizing. If you improve your semantic memory, then you're in the right direction. You have to go in detail. Let's say an example of a situation given. If you simply just closed off, then you're about to trigger the part of your limbic system and your episodic episodic memory from your past, repeating that cycle that my person is like this or the situation is like this. I know it. I don't need to understand. But if you go with the way of semantic memory, let me listen, let me understand. And then after completely listening and understanding, you can also try to understand by the episodic memory. What does the episodic memory talks about? According to the situation, fully understand and listen. The episodic memory of specific events that you have experienced just happen, no effort, which means once that effort is put inside your brain by semantic memory, then you don't have to put an effort to recall something. It will immediately attach to one certain episodic memory given, and it'll start to understand the situation even better than what you did not understood by closing off and directly jumping to the episodic memory. So detailing will improve your neocortex and slowly calm your limbic system. Remember, if you are turning into that same cycle every day, then I would recommend you to start doing something new, learn something new, and also do some exercises, de-stress your body, and start to explore life on a new perspective as well. You can also do that during your weekends in everyday life. Every morning you can do some activities to de-stress your body and then start your day. Don't jump to the conclusion of drinking tea and coffee. That's not good for the body. Keep in mind, hydrate your body, eat fruits, good vegetable, nourish your brain, and keep it really, really healthy. Do not jump into any conclusion immediately. It comes from the limbic system. It can destroy your relationships, destroy your surroundings, and even you can cut off from many other things. So the unchanged melody should not be responsible for anything. Now you know that what you need to do to evolve as a human being, your frontal cortex is very, very important to evolve as a human being. If you continue to choose to remain in that same cycle, you know things will get worse. You will not evolve as a human being, but you'll remain unchanged for the rest of your life, and you regret to the end of your life, why didn't I listen or change myself at the right time? So you have to understand that it doesn't take time to cut off, to be abusive, but it takes a lot of effort from here to calm and listen, and don't jump to the conclusion. Practice to evolve as a human being. You can also try personality development. That's a very good inner work. You can also try inner childhood healing. If it's triggering you a lot, then you should also practice inner childhood healing, which is a very good practice to evolve as a human being. But like I said, neuroscience is all about understanding and the inner sections of your functionality, not the outside. We don't believe what is happening outside is everything, because inside is where things are shaking up, not the outside. Change your dimension from inside, and the outside will be balanced. So before I end this up, I'd like to say something that please share this video. And if you really think that my channel is valuable, it's good, then please subscribe, because I want to give benefit to you all with the knowledge that I have about neuroscience. Neuroscience is my passion, and I've been doing this for years. I've been trying to understand the animals and the animal behaviors as well. But it's time for me to give more information out to the people to make your life a better living. Please share this video to people, to someone who really needs help, who needs help from here, they need that emotional support to understand what is happening inside. Please share the video as much as you can. please, 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 I still say this, subscribe to the channel if you think it's valuable. I'm doing this for you, and I want to make this thing really, really benefited for you all. It should only benefit me, but it should benefit you first. That is my aim. So if you subscribe to the channel, you will know when my videos are going to be up. Put up that notification button, and when the new video pops up, you get it first, and you can understand how to improve our mental state of mind, brain development as well. So your mental health is important to your family. God bless you all, and may you have an abundant, sweet life. Sending you so very much love, light, and healing. Hare Krishna.